Did you know that domestic violence is more common than what we even realize? According to the United States Department of Justice Office on Violence Against Women, the definition of domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain or maintain control over another intimate partner. Many types of abuse are included in the definition of domestic violence. Today we will look at domestic violence and the idea, many people's insight, that the woman is always the abused partner. However, as we look at the following statistics, we will see that it does not just pertain to women. First of all, physical abuse can include pinching, slapping, spitting, or hitting, anything physical in relation to cause harm or pain. Also, sexual abuse occurs in domestic violence when the abuser coerces or tempts the victim into having sexual contact or sexual behavior without the victim's consent. Also, there is emotional abuse, which involves invalidating or deflating the victim's sense of self-worth or self-esteem. Economic abuse takes place when the abuser makes or tries to make the victim financially reliant on them in order to maintain control. Psychological abuse involves the abuser invoking fear through intimidation, threatening to physically hurt himself or herself, the victim, children, the victim's family or friends, or even the pets. Destruction of property, isolating the victim from loved ones, and prohibiting the victim from going to school or work. Threats of irate behavior, such as the form of a weapon of psychological abuse. Stalking, which can include the victim spying, watching, harassing, showing up at the victim's home or at work, sending gifts, or leaving written messages. These acts individually are typically legal, but any of these behaviors done continuously result in a stalking crime. Then, of course, we have cyber stalking, which refers to online action or repeated emailing that inflicts substantial emotional distress in the recipient. Now looking at the statistics of domestic violence, more than 1 in 3 women and more than 1 in 4 men in the U.S. report having experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Also, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this adds up to more than 10 million women and men. Nearly 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner during their lifetime. In 15 states, more than 40% of all homicides of women in each state involved in domestic violence. 85% of domestic violence victims are female and 15% are male. Women with disabilities have a greater risk of intimate partner violence. 2 in 5 gay or bisexual men will experience domestic violence in their lifetimes. Approximately 63% of homeless women have experienced domestic violence in their adult lives. 28% of families were homeless because of domestic violence. Nearly half of all women and men in the U.S. will experience psychological aggression by an intimate partner in their lifetime. Approximately 5 million children are exposed to domestic violence every year. Children exposed are more likely to attempt suicide, abuse drugs and alcohol, run away from home, engage in teenage prostitution, and commit suicide. 40% of the Center for Violence-Free Relationships domestic violence cases have children under 18 in their home. Nationally, 50% of batterers who abuse their intimate partners also abuse their children. Worldwide, men who were exposed to domestic violence as children are 3 to 4 more times likely to perpetrate intimate partner violence as adults. And 81% of women and 35% of men who experience rape, stalking, or physical violence by an intimate partner reported significant short or long-term impact, such as post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms and injury. 4% of high school students report being hit, slapped, or physically hurt by their boyfriend or girlfriend in the last 12 months. Only 1 out of 3 people who are injured during a domestic violence incident will ever receive medical care for their injuries. Most cases of domestic violence are never reported to police. Men who are victimized are substantially less likely than women to report their situation to police. As we see, we currently live in a climate where domestic violence abuse is prevalent in American society because of the unreported acts of domestic violence than the ones we statistically have figures on. So what can happen? What must happen to revert these numbers and to cause a decrease in domestic violence? Those who experience domestic violence must seek help. They must find a way to overcome the adversities within their homes and the following resources in the local community are available through counseling, relocation, and other sources can escape these abusive situations. It is more than the physical pain. Reaching out for help may be saving your life. If you suffer from domestic violence, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-2333 or chat online at thehotline.org.